Bleach has been out for 23 years now, and we're having Core 3 of the Thousand Year Blood War anime return this September. So with that, we're talking 10 things about Bleach that have aged poorly.
Sam, shut up. Did you just say 23 years?
23, Pythes.
We can't escape time. Baragon comes for us all.
And the same goes for Bleach, according to Screen Rant. So we're going to go over what they think has aged poorly, and we'll talk about it. We'll see if we agree, we'll see if we disagree, we'll go from there. Number 10, Bleach's fan service can be a bit much.
No.
I don't remember there being that much fan service in it, and now, so a little bit of backstory. My fiance is just starting to really kind of get into anime. I have purposely been not showing her stuff that has like a lot of fan service or anything ecchi in it. I don't recall Bleach having that at all. No, there's a couple, like they got the beach episode and, you know, any of the tentacle stuff that happens with Loopy, but I don't remember being that bad.
But when I think of like weird fan service, I think like Fire Force, where Shinra is like falling into people's titties. Bleach just has like big busty women on screen all the time.
And I even think something like when Yoruichi, which is quoted in the article, the Yoruichi cat form bit at the very beginning, it's tasteful. They're not messing with her or anything, and then it's used as a joke because she turns back into a cat.
She turns back into a cat. Also, like, to be fair to all the scantily clad women of Bleach, they all kick ass.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're really awesome, but that's not the point we're making here. It's that the fan service can be a bit much.
For a shonen, I guess, but like for like an anime that we watched at midnight, I think it was fine.
Number 9. Ichigo's power-ups are acquired too quickly.
No, he uses the same powers forever.
But I think their argument, I think a lot of this is coming from the beginning of the series, right? Because the argument you can make is he got his Bankai really quick, and then he immediately took down 3 lieutenants, right? You can see where that connection might be made.
You know what? I will give them that. That's fair, but it was a really cool scene, so I forgive it.
I think we go with the Dungeons & Dragons one, where we go with the rule of cool. It was cool. I know a lot of people make fun of Ichigo for being like the chosen trifecta of races, so he gets all the powers.
Never forget that Naruto had a magic demon fox in him that won most of the fights.
Number 8. Bleach's abilities can be overcomplicated.
I'm trying. Oh, you know what? Ichibei. I still don't understand how his Bankai works.
Well, Ichibei, another one I would give you, Askin.
No, I understand how that works. I'm just too stupid to use it.
The example that they give in the article is Grimmy.
Well, imagination? He thinks that it happens.
So I think they're more talking about like it's an unstoppable force, and then another good one which they give out, which makes sense because it's built this way on purpose. But Shunsui Zanpakuto is another one that they give an example.
I think that is a cultural thing because apparently it is based off this like very specific kabuki play. So it's less complicated and more like you need the cultural context of it.
So do we agree with that one?
I don't agree, but I'll give it a passing grade because I'm like, unless you're really paying attention, some of these can go over your head.
And it doesn't say all of them. It just says that their abilities can be overcomplicated, which I feel like you run into in any anime nowadays. There's always going to be a couple.
I cannot stress the insanity that was trying to figure out how the fuck King Crimson worked before the JoJo Part 5 was animated.
So there it is. It's everywhere. Number 7. Bleach's anime underwent many technical changes, and it specifically says the transition from SD, standard definition, to high definition didn't help Bleach.
When did it change?
Because it started off as standard definition, right? You look back at the old school, like Soul Society Rescue Arc, you definitely tell it's of the older time. It's got classic anime looks, and then it changes. To me, I recall the change being around the Shinji time. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but I believe that's when they did the big swap over, and now it looks much more like modern anime.
I think that'd be more along the lines of like the Fullbring arc or like the filler arc before it is when it started to get like really crazy.
Yeah, it just depends where they're hitting it, because also they've also come back and released it all on Blu-ray, so I assume they've gone back and made it look a little bit better even now. But I can get this is just going back to the classic where it's like it just looks dated, but it's dated because it's dated. It came out in 2003.
Take a look at episode 1 of One Piece, and that is it's like pictures moving.
Oh, and take a look at the episodes now of One Piece, and the animation is crazy. Like you're gonna run into that. Any long-running series is gonna run into that. It's just gonna happen.
Hey, to be fair, I'm not the one to ask about this. I'm like, as long as the picture move, I don't care.
Number 6, Bleach's anime quality doesn't measure up to the manga.
Correct.
I think that's a well-approved and I don't know. I feel like a lot of the anime from that series, that be Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, they all run into problems with trying to keep up with the constant release of the manga and the anime catching up to that said manga, where you're going to run into that. You're going to run into delays in production. You're going to run into times where they had to skim around the corners, and you're just going to run into that. It just happens. We've known that's been a thing for a long time. My recommendation for people when they're starting Bleach is to watch the Soul Society Rescue arc. If they love it, then swap over to the manga, because then you just run into so many fillers.
I would say, not even that, I would say watch all the way through the Arrancar arc, because that's mostly not filler. You can get through a couple episodes. But like, as soon as you get to Wakamundo, there's like 3 filler arcs in a row, and that's when you go to the manga.
But I think that's a fair point as well. I think everybody, the manga for Bleach and Kubo's art style is so iconic, where even Kubo himself has talked about the possibility of wanting to go back and remake the Bleach anime.
I love that, because Kubo, I mean, I like the anime art style, don't get me wrong, but Kubo's is just better.
Number 5, we're getting some controversial ones now, Pythes.
Okay.
Bleach is driven by one of the most cliched tropes. Bleach overuses the quote, damsel in distress trope.
Is that what it's driven by?
Well, here's the argument, right? So, Soul Society Rescue arc,
yeah,
we're saving Rukia. Wakamundo arc, we're saving Orihime, right? And those are the 2 options that they give.
They didn't, but there's so many more arcs.
Yeah, and it's like, it does leave out those later arcs where it's like, yeah, you know, and the Orihime one happens halfway through the Arrancar arc. There's a whole other portion of the Arrancar arc before they decide, hey, we're gonna kidnap Orihime, and then it goes to that.
And then like after they rescue her, there's like a whole other part of the arc, which is like Fate Karakura and Deicide.
Yeah, and it's like you find out that the whole rest, like kidnapping Orihime, was like, oh, this is all just a great plan to get everybody trapped in Wakamundo. Like, I just wanted you guys to be gone.
How many times in One Piece do they need to rescue a person?
I mean, a lot, and that's how it goes. But I mean, like, I don't know. I don't think you can overuse it.
That's a classic shonen staple. They had to rescue Robin. I'm pretty sure, I did not read that shit, but they had to rescue Sanji at one point. Didn't they do like a massive arc, including like Impel Down and the War arc, just to rescue Ace?
Sanji and Ace, both damsels.
How do you get characters to fight? You steal one of them, and then the others try and go get it, and they run into fights. That's how shonen works.
And I feel like Orihime's was so justified, whereas like she has a broken ability. Let's kidnap her. I'd be like, hey, I would do the same thing. If it was war, I'm taking Orihime first. Sorry.
The Sasuke, like the big fight with the Cell 4 was because they stole Sasuke.
All right, so we don't agree with that one.
I believe those are big parts of the story, but it is not driven by it.
Number 4, Bleach's plot moves at a glacial pace. Bleach needed better pacing.
The anime, yeah, sure, 100%.
So it even says even in the manga, it takes until chapter 71 for the actual Soul Society arc to begin, which they argue is the main plot.
In the manga, it's faster, but I will give that, because, like, think about where, like, Naruto was in Volume 6, right? They're balls deep in the Forest of Pain, they're doing the Chunin exam, Sasuke's got his curse mark. In Volume 6, I'm pretty sure the thing that happens is Rukia is finally captured by Byakuya.
One of the things that it attributes to in the article is that it says that basically the first year of the chapters is dedicated to all, like, the real-world characters that are there, and they don't have any impact later to the story.
I mean, Chad, Orihime, Uryu, but I get what they're talking about.
But I think it's also including like Tatsuki and like all Keigo and all of his other friends, which really don't have much of that. It even continues on, and this leads into point number 3, Pythes. Bleach also loves to split the party, which like this is speaking true to my heart for when I play Dungeons & Dragons. I love splitting the fucking party. But it continues, such as when Ichigo's party enters the Seirete. We remember the classic scene, the ball they're in splits up, they go everywhere, and it forces even more ongoing plot lines to split up. It takes a long time to address all the different storylines that each character is a part of, which goes to number 3.
Yeah?
Are you ready?
Because I got thoughts about that last one.
Bleach has too many characters.
I agree with that, but we'll come back to it.
Okay. So I feel like one of Bleach's things that it does the best is the dynamic range of the characters that it offers. Now, there is that classic trope where it's like, oh, here's Ichigo with a beard, here's Ichigo with no hair, here's Ichigo, that's a thing we've all seen. It's classic. But I think one of the best parts about Bleach is the collection of characters. Like, I just think that's one of the highlights.
I think I mentioned before when we were reviewing the chapter for the Hell arc that I said I like Kubo's characters enough that whole chapter could have just been them in a room talking to each other and I'd have been happy. I think what makes Soul Society stand out as an arc so much is there were so many ongoing plot lines. You had the main goal of we need to save Rukia, but also like Uryu and Orihime are off doing their own thing, and Uryu runs into that guy that messed up his grandpa, and like Chad goes off and we get to meet Shunsui, and there's this whole Aizen murder mystery going on that all culminates in one of the best reveals of one of the best villains in manga, period. And that couldn't have happened without the party splitting.
True. And one of the things that they do attribute to, so they're going to list all of basically the groups that we have, right? We have the 13 Court Guard squads, captains and lieutenants. We have all the other Soul Reapers. we have the Visored, we have the Espada, the Fractions, the Fullbringers, the Sternritter, and it just goes from there, right? So there is a lot of characters to go into, and they quote something from Kubo where he's admitted that when he gets writer's block, what helps him is to create a new character, and that's one of the ways that he does it. But they continue saying that because there's so many characters, when the story has to stop to check in with some of these other characters, it slows down the actual story.
I could kind of agree with that, because I'm going to be honest, I only care about like maybe 3 of the Visors, and the rest I throw in the garbage.
Yeah, and one of the things which we're both going to agree with, I already know before I even say it, they continue that it ends up hurting the development of characters who should get more focus, like Chad, in favor of characters whose very existence is simply unnecessary.
Yep, God, you know how much I want Chad to be the guy, and he's not.
I feel like if there's any 2 people who we want to have a redeeming quality moment, one is going to be Chad, number 2 is going to be Tatsuki.
Oh God, Tatsuki is such wasted potential. She's so cool. She plays Tekken.
We love that.
That's canon, by the way.
Okay, we're coming to our top 2. You ready?
Yep.
The Bleach anime is overflowing with filler, and the screenshot they used is the Bount arc.
I still say the Bount arc had potential.
I think the Bount arc, and it's such a shame that it was so poorly received, and I get part of it is like Kubo wasn't super involved with it aside from the design of Jin Karya. It was such a shame because of the Bount arc. They tried to blend it in with the story. They created an original cast. The motivation for Jin Karya at the end was incredible, and the way that he speaks to Ichigo had great nuggets in it. It just went on for too long, and that's not their fault.
It was like 43 episodes. That's way too goddamn long.
Yeah, but it's not their fault because they got too close to the manga. So what are they supposed to do? That's a problem of the time they were airing it, which goes back to one of the earlier points.
Yeah, but like putting aside the issue of how cool I think the Bount concept is, they are absolutely correct. Whenever I have someone at work, a younger guy, new gen, wants to get into Bleach, I'm like, okay, when you get to this part, you need to skip like 40 episodes. Don't worry about the dolls. Okay, and then when you get to this part, you need to skip like 30 episodes, and this one you skip 20, because it's filler.
So they actually worked out the math. Out of 366 episodes in the original Bleach series, 165 of those are considered at least partially filler.
That's like 30%.
It's almost half, Pythes. 165 times 2, you get to 330.
Oh my fucking God.
Like, isn't that insane?
Okay, everybody at home needs to know, if you just watch anime, it would come on TV, and if you missed it, you missed it. I have a tape library where I videotaped every episode of Bleach that ever came out. There are weeks and weeks and weeks where I would just have to, alright, we're not recording Bleach this week because it's another filler. There'd be months where I'd not record an episode.
I mean, it's crazy, but it's like, once again, that was in the time where, heaven forbid, your show was not airing. It's like, oh my God, people are gonna forget about it. No one's gonna like it anymore. We have to keep the show going at all times.
A lot of people bitch about new gen anime, and that's just because they're boomers like us. The ability to just stop the show for a few months and take a break and then just resume without filler is so nice, man. It's I don't even like My Hero Academia, but the fact that they just take breaks is amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the way that all series going forward is going to go. I don't think we will see another long-running series like One Piece. I mean, ever. I think One Piece is the last of its kind.
One Piece needs to stop. Let it end, let the animators out of the slave dungeon, and just let Oda cook for a little while.
Are you ready for number 1?
Alright. What is this one going to be? I'm excited.
Bleach's perverted humor really aged bad. Characters like Kon, Keigo, and Ishin aren't funny.
I think it aged remarkably well, considering, like, Master Roshi hanging out in the women's toilet. Yeah, they're weird and creepy, but they're not like, I don't know, man. They're just not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's so few and far between that it's hard, because most of it I do remember is Kon, right? And like a lot of what we see of Kon, he's a stuffed animal, he's diving, and then it's comedic where like he gets beat up, you know? He's never the winner. They do also throw in Orihime's friend Chizuru, which I would maybe agree with that one. I don't know. But one of the things that they comment on specifically, which is a moment that I don't particularly remember, so I'll test your knowledge here, is that Ichigo's father, Ishin, who in early chapters comments on his daughter's panties in a way that's truly revolting.
That's just a dumb joke. That's a regular joke in Japan. Don't worry about it.
I don't remember that part. So that's a long time. I can't comment on that one. I don't know. But I'm sure a lot of it is like cultural differences and things like that, where it's like, oh, you know, maybe it's okay to joke about that. I'll go back to the classic, what I was saying about not showing my fiance things that has like a lot of ecchi or anything in it. I don't recall. You know, I am a man and I read this in my teen years, so maybe, who knows, it flew right by me.
But like, I'm thinking of like Jiraiya's introduction is he's spying on women bathing. Like Master Roshi is like, there's an episode of the original Dragon Ball, he shrinks down and he's like, I need to go hide in the bathroom when Bulma goes and pees.
One of the last things they say on this point, and I do think this is a good point now that I'm really thinking about it, is that these types of perverted characters are beginning to fall out of favor in anime and manga, which is true. It really is true. You don't see a lot of those characters made much more, and it states that makes these characters, even though they're few and far between, they're just used for comedic relief, it makes them really stand out compared to when you're watching it with the modern eye.
I guess that's fair. I mean, I definitely do not like the pervert characters. Like, Mineta has got to be the worst character in My Hero Academia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm upset he didn't get killed. But, like, I don't like them, but I find the Bleach characters to be less egregious.
Well, I think we give them a bit of a pass because they do have a lot of positives to the characters when they're made. So, like, when they make jokes like that, they do something that's redeeming quality right away. So we give them a lot of passes, right? Aside from Cone, who's constantly on the prowl, but a lot of them have other funny moments that are better than that. So I think we just wash them out. But, you know, I get it. I get it.
I mean, I'm thinking of, like, other pervert characters, and I'm like, well, didn't Meliodas, like, isn't he openly groping like a child? Cone attempts, but he always fails, and usually gets beat up for it.
So, I mean, after reading that whole thing, I don't think there was anything in there that was too crazy. I think the wording was worded a certain way to kind of catch your eye, but when you actually read the paragraphs associated with each of the numbers, they explain it. They go, and I could see from a point of view where you would get that from, and I try to think of, like, you know, if I was reading it for the first time, maybe I hadn't known a lot of this, maybe I didn't follow it growing up, like, how's my fiance gonna read it? I could see where some of that stuff would take place. So it's not a horrible list.
I mean, Sam, we are no stranger to clickbait titles.
That's what we do here, baby. Don't throw rocks when you live in glass houses. What's the saying?
Yes, you said it correctly. This was just Bleach is aged kind of poorly. I'm like, that's fair. It's from how long? How many years ago? 23?
2003, 21 years ago.
I would rate this a Lady Roricchio out of Rukia.
And I would rate this probably 2 Omaidas out of 1 Soul King.
Okay, I need people at home to understand calling it Omaida is great praise from us. We love Omaida in the Weebs Guild. If you don't love Omaida, you're wrong.
No, but here's what we're really going to do. We're going to come back in 23 years to this article, and then we're going to re-review it again, and we'll write our own article about how this is aged poorly.
That's actually a great idea.
And that's been the top 10 reasons why Bleach has aged poorly. If you guys like that, please leave a like and subscribe. It does help us out here at the Weebs Guild. If you guys have any comments you want to leave maybe about any of the lists, let us know in the comments down below. And we will see you guys come October for Bleach Thousand Blood War Core 3 when Bleach Boys returns. Bye, everybody.
I give this a clickbait out of 10.